What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor, and I'm powerless over life, but not my reaction to life. It's been a while since I've made a video. It's because I've been extremely sick, and I'm very grateful for all my subscribers, all the comments. It's people like y'all of why I keep having the courage to share my experience, strength, and hope. And I want to share something that I've been through this past week and a half that can help someone else who is struggling with the same thing, or who might have this struggle come up in the future. And the back information in this to help you understand what's going to follow behind this is that for the past 7 months, I've had some serious health issues. And I found out that I was sepsis for several months because of an infected tooth. But my point is, even though that I was physically sick, I was having heart palpitations, struggling to breathe, talk, walk, chronic pain through in my bones, my body. It was very intense. And when I first became sick, I started sleeping all day, every day. Now, I've been in recovery for over 2 years. And so I'm grateful that when I did get sick 7 months ago, I was working a program. I had started my healing journey, and I had already developed new habits, behaviors, and a new belief system. So I had a foundation when I first got sick. And, I would sleep because I was just so overly exhausted and stuff. And I would have people try to reach out to me. I would ignore them, which meant I started isolating. That's the first sign. I didn't want to be around people. I just felt physically horribly. And I would sleep because that's all I figured I could do. And a lady that I met a couple months before I got sick, who is actually my sponsor now, if I wouldn't have met her at the time that I met her, I wouldn't have had her to be able to model to me that, hey, you can be sick, you can not feel good, and you can still put your program first. And that's what the fellowship is about. Like, the people that I've met since I've been in 12-step programs and in the fellowship are the reason I am where I am today. Of course, it's the 12 steps in general, but it's the people that I'm able to learn from. Because of the type of people I hung out with and was around during my childhood developmental years, I didn't learn regular healthy life skills, or how to regulate my emotions, or how to form a healthy relationship with myself, other people. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to connect to myself. I didn't know how to feel my feelings. And so the fellowship taught me how to do all that by hearing different people's journeys and how they did things and what worked for them, what didn't work, and hearing all of these suggestions. And so if I wouldn't have had met this lady, I wouldn't have had the motivation or the self-awareness to realize, wait a second, I'm slipping back into old patterns, behaviors, and beliefs. I had quit my daily recovery schedule that I had been doing for quite some time when I got sick. And I would use me being physically sick as an excuse to sleep. And if I wouldn't have had the program, I wouldn't have been able to examine my motives and really step back and ask myself, like, hey, why are you really sleeping? Yes, you're physically sick, but you're not incapable of getting up and taking action. And so I probably ended up spending like 2.5 weeks, maybe less than 3 weeks in bed, and like going through that until I finally realized the only way I'm going to get better is if I get up and take action. I'm going to be sick physically, regardless if I lay in bed or if I don't lay in bed. So the only option I have is to get up and take action, create my recovery schedule, do it no matter how I feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and do it no matter what, because I'm still going to physically feel like shit. And I did that. And so my point of this is that I was sepsis for several months, and I put my program first. I did that recovery schedule no matter what. And this past week and a half, I became sepsis again. And I had finally got antibiotics and I started feeling better. But then my daughter got a yucky virus. And I got the virus, and I have a very weak immune system. And the virus put me on my ass to where I was seriously could barely walk. I could barely see. I was very, very, very sick, very sick. And so I was laying down all day and I was really sick. And I had to remind myself, Taylor, you're just sick. You know, this isn't going to last forever. And my point is it brought up those emotions from my past of when I was very depressed, of when I was sleeping all day, every day, and feeling the way I was feeling broken and just alone and just miserable. And I started feeling like that again because I wasn't connecting to myself or my higher power, the universe. I wasn't doing my meetings. I wasn't talking to my support system. I was staying in contact with my sponsors, but little by little, like, I had quit doing the things that my brain was used to doing on a daily basis. And just from stepping back from that, I could feel the difference in my emotional sobriety. And it got to a point where I realized, and I have so much self-awareness because of these programs. It got to a point where I realized, wait a second, okay, yes, I had to sleep because I was sick, but now I'm sleeping because it's developed into a routine. My body got used to sleeping. And so it took everything I had to fight against the part of my brain that wanted to tell me, it's okay, you can sleep, you're sick. And to listen to the part of my brain that told me, no, it's not okay, get up, take your ass outside and be in nature and meditate and connect. And I do a lot of positive self-talk out loud. And when I say positive self-talk, I wish I could find the right vocabulary word to explain it, but it's basically like me supporting myself. It's not fake positive self-talk. It's me supporting myself, encouraging myself, motivating myself the way I would do with people when they need help and I'm doing service. And so it took everything I had to migrate from being in the house for several days, which I'm not used to being in the house like that. And for some reason, when I'm in the house, I feel blocked from like the universe, like nature. I feel very blocked for some reason. And so outside is like my safe place. It's like I feel at home outside. And so I told myself, I said, Taylor, if you can lay here on this couch and this bed and do this, then you can go outside and lay in your lawn chair. And my lawn chair has a cushion, and every night, you know, when I meditate and I pray my version of prayer, connect, whatever, I lay on that lawn chair and I just look up at the sky, you know, and I'm just in the present moment, just focusing on gratitude, and just whatever thoughts come, they come, and I self-reflect, and I find solutions, and I can really think. I have to slow down in order to be able to think of things, because if I'm always go, 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 I'm not going to be able to really dive deep within myself and to heal and to figure out solutions to problems. And so that nighttime meditation is very vital to me in my recovery, and it has been very beneficial. But I came outside and I laid on my lawn chair, and I was just physically not feeling it. I was sick, and for some reason I wanted to cry. And so before the program, I would have shut that down real quick, and I would have turned that sadness into anger, and I would have found something to distract myself. You know, I haven't been in active addiction since 2020, so before that, I would have taken a drink. But I don't have to do that anymore. You know, I can give myself permission to cry, and I just cried as long as it took. Like, you know, and that's just what I had to do. But the difference is that it's not a negative cry the way it was before the program. It's more of a cleansing cry. It's like, I need to get this energy out of my body. I have had a lot of serious things and events and experiences happen to me in my life just this past couple of weeks. So any standard human being, what they have been through, what I have been through these past few weeks, would want to cry, would need to cry. And, you know, being in the program, that's new to me, being allowed to cry. I grew up in a home where crying was weak. They would dismiss me. You know, there was no reason to cry. And so as an adult, I have to be gracious to myself, and I have to give myself permission and to tell myself it's okay to cry. And I cried and I cried, and I thought about the reasons of why I'm crying, because I always want to like become self-aware and identify, okay, like what am I crying about? And I started thinking about situations that had recently happened to me in my life. When my daughter was a child, I lost custody of her because I was in active addiction, and I actually got her back 2 years ago. And a situation happened with her where she wanted to move in with my sister that she barely knows, and so she left my house, which brought up a lot of emotions from the past, from the first time I lost custody into the present moment of what just recently happened. And the difference of this time is that I don't deserve what has happened. I've done everything I can do as a parent. I've gone beyond and above of everything I can do. I've worked on myself. I've tried to repair our relationship. I've done nothing but show her love and compassion. And I've tried to give her the things that I didn't get growing up. And so I know that my side of the street is clean, but that doesn't mean that these emotions aren't going to pop up. That's a painful situation. So the point of me telling you this is why these emotions came up. And not only was those emotions about my daughter came up, I started thinking about the choices that I had made in my past that had caused the situation to even happen. But the difference is I wasn't judging myself. I wasn't criticizing myself. I was acknowledging that, yes, Taylor, the choices you have made are the reason the things are happening today. I mean, there's a reason adults tell us, wait until you're married to have a child and choose somebody who's going to respect you and love you and be good to you. You know, there's consequences with having a child as a child. And so that situation is a very painful situation. And so I had to give myself permission to cry. And when I started crying, I started thinking about my grandmother that passed away about 2 years ago, because my grandmother raised me as a child, and she also raised my daughter. And what I've realized in that moment is that I haven't actually given myself permission to grieve over that. And what triggered that was a couple weeks ago when somebody was talking about her to me. And I was looking at it through a different perspective in a way that had never really hit me the way it hit me when this person was talking to me about my grandmother and the way that they were. And I realized that grieving is a process. You know, people grieve in different ways, and grieving doesn't have to mean death. You know, anything we lose. I had to grieve alcohol, my addiction. I had to grieve who I was. I had to grieve the children I had lost due to the choices that I made. Like, grieving is a process, and what I've learned in my recovery that's helping me grieve in a healthy way is when I want to cry, to just allow myself to cry without beating myself up or without exaggerating it. Because before the program, like, I would get so angry and I would just spin my emotions completely out of control. I would make them worse by the way I talked to myself in my head, by the things that I would think of, by the way I judged myself and criticized myself. I would make my emotions more intense than what they really had to be, you know. And grieving is a process. And you know, that's why I make these videos, and that's why I share my experience, strength, and hope, because I know what it's like to hold in emotions for 15 years and to cope in unhealthy ways. And even though I wasn't in active addiction for several years, sleep became my main coping mechanism. And so that day I went outside several days ago. Something clicked in me, and I realized, Taylor, you're the only one that can put you back in your depression. It's your choice. If you want to get up and take action and get back in your routine, you can bounce yourself back. It's not too late. But yet my mind will try to convince me that it is, because that's the purpose of the negative mind and the diseased mind for some reason. And I don't know why it's there. Nobody really knows why. But I will say this, the more I fed my positive mind, the more healing I did, the more meditation, connecting to myself and the universe, and learning to love myself, learning to develop a connection to myself and show up for myself the way nobody has ever showed up for me. Depending on myself, it seems like to me that I can handle things a lot more appropriately than before. Like, I'm willing to face the pain. I don't have to run from this pain, because pain is trying to tell me something. And if I'm always running from this pain, the pain will never go away. So for me, in my recovery, the only way that I have been able to heal, and the only way that I am continuing to heal, is to face the pain, to allow myself to feel that pain, and things happen in life. And a lot of times, the things that happen to us, and I know for me, the things that's happened to me are completely out of my control. I'm only responsible for myself, my actions, behaviors, attitudes, and beliefs, but I am not responsible for the decisions that other people choose to make. And today, I choose to allow people in my life, daughter, blood, father, mother, friend, whatever the label is, because I've learned to drop the labels and to look at them as a human being. Are they being honest? Are they being open-minded? Are they respectful? Are they willing to communicate to me in a nice way? Like, these things matter to me in my recovery, because I spent my entire life hanging around people who emotionally and physically abused me. So that's my number one boundary, is that if you can't be honest with me and treat me with respect, then I don't want you in my life. I'm not saying it's an all or nothing thing, but as of now, I don't want that person in my life. And that's a hard decision to make, but I can make these decisions, and I don't have to feel guilty for making these decisions. Whereas in the beginning of recovery, I felt so guilty setting boundaries with family members. And today I choose to not associate with my family. It's too emotionally painful. I can see the dysfunction. I can see the brokenness, the dishonesty. And just because they're family, why would I continue to put myself and jeopardize my emotional sobriety to just get together a couple times a year? No. I had to be willing to do recovery for myself, and my recovery schedule that I speak so much about, because it has changed my life. On my recovery schedule, I do a 12-step meeting no matter what. And when I'm feeling like low or alone or wanting to isolate, I'll throw myself into more meetings. I do whatever it takes to make sure that I maintain my emotional sobriety. I reach out to at least 2 people a day that are involved in any 12-step program, because my brain will convince me that I don't need to be around people. But yet, the thing is that I'm self-aware of this, and I know that my brain will convince me of this, but it's my choice if I want to listen to this or not. I don't have to listen to that part of my brain that tells me I can't, I won't, and I never will be. Or I don't need people. All I need is myself. I don't have to listen. I can listen, but I don't have to allow it to consume me and control me. And I make sure I do a self-care routine. My morning and my nighttime meditation. I love the nighttime. And so I come outside, I sit at night, like I said, get on my lawn chair, I look up at the sky, and I just get lost in the sky, like I'm floating through the sky, and just being in the present moment, connecting, asking for guidance and protection, and just speaking to the universe, and really speaking out loud to myself. That is the main number one coping mechanism that has got me through everything that I have been through since I've been in recovery, is positive self-talk out loud. Is talking to myself out loud, encouraging myself, supporting myself, motivating myself. The way we share in 12-step meetings, I've learned to share with myself, because I have learned to be my own best friend, and exercise and diet is very important too. I make sure that I get exercise. And I'm careful about what I put in my body, because I have to be, because that can affect my mental health. And I make sure I do service work. And all these things that I fit into my daily recovery schedule matter. And by me doing these things, no matter how I feel physically, mentally, or emotionally, it's given me the ability to develop self-discipline. Because all these things that I talk about in my videos, I was not born with. I've had to work really, really hard, and I still have to work really, really hard to develop these life skills that were not taught to me. And so I hope this video can help someone else, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like. There are days that I just feel so empty, that I question, like, what's the point of life? But I know deep down in my heart that there's a reason for everything. And if I'm maintaining my emotional sobriety and my spiritual connection and my physical well-being, and I'm taking action no matter what, my brain tells me that eventually it will pass and it will be okay. It's okay not to be okay.